The correspondence between Princess Elisabeth of Bohemia and Rene Descartes, edited and translated by Lisa Shapiro. Elisabeth to Descartes, The Hague, 6 May 1643. Monsieur Descartes, I learned with much joy and regret of the plan you had to see me a few days ago. I was touched equally by your charity in willing to share yourself with such an ignorant and intractable person, and by the bad luck that robbed me of such a profitable conversation. Monsieur Pelotti greatly augmented this latter passion in going over with me the solutions you gave him to the obscurities contained in the physics of Monsieur Regius. I would have been better instructed on these from your mouth, as I would have been on a question I proposed to that professor while he was in this town, and regarding which he redirected me to you so that I might receive a satisfactory answer. The shame of showing you so disordered a style prevented me up until now from asking you for this favor by letter. But today, Monsieur Pelotti has given me such assurance of your goodwill toward everyone, and in particular toward me, that I chase from my mind all considerations other than that of availing myself of it. So I ask you please to tell me how the soul of a human being, it being only a thinking substance, can determine the bodily spirits in order to bring about voluntary actions. For it seems that all determination of movement happens through the impulsion of the thing moved, by the manner in which it is pushed by that which moves it, or else by the particular qualities and shape of the surface of the latter. Physical contact is required for the first two conditions, extension for the third. You entirely exclude the one, extension, from the notion you have of the soul, and the other, physical contact, appears to me incompatible with a immaterial thing. This is why I ask you for a more precise definition of the soul than the one you give in your metaphysics, that is to say, of its substance separate from its action, that is, from thought. For even if we were to suppose them inseparable, which is however difficult to prove in the mother's womb and in great fainting spells, as are the attributes of God, we could, in considering them apart, acquire a more perfect idea of them. Knowing that you are the best doctor for my soul, I expose to you quite freely the weaknesses of its speculations, and hope that in observing the Hippocratic oath you will supply me with remedies without making them public. Such I beg of you to do, as well as to suffer the badgerings of your affectionate friend at your service, Elisabeth. Elisabeth to Descartes, The Hague, 10 June 1643. Monsieur Descartes, your goodwill appears not only in your showing me the faults in my reasoning and correcting them, as I expected, but also in your attempt to console me about them, in order to make the knowledge of them less annoying for me. But, in detriment to your judgment, you attempt to console me about those faults with false praise. Such false praise would have been necessary to encourage me to work to remedy them had my upbringing, in a place where the ordinary way of conversing has accustomed me to understand that people are incapable of giving one true praise, not made me presume that I could not err in believing the contrary of what people speak, and had it not rendered the consideration of my imperfections so familiar that they no longer upset me more than is necessary to promote the desire to rid myself of them. This makes me confess, without shame, that I have found in myself all the causes of error which you noticed in your letter, and that as yet I have not been able to banish them entirely, for the life which I am constrained to lead does not leave enough time at my disposal to acquire a habit of meditation in accordance with your rules. Now the interests of my house, which I must not neglect, Now some conversations and social obligations which I cannot avoid beat down so heavily on this weak mind with annoyance or boredom that it is rendered useless for anything else at all for a long time afterward. This will serve, I hope, as an excuse for my stupidity in being unable to comprehend, by appeal to the idea you once had of heaviness, the idea through which we must judge how the soul, non-extended and immaterial, can move the body, nor why this power to carry the body toward the center of the earth, which you earlier falsely attributed to a body such as quality, should sooner persuade us that a body can be pushed by some immaterial thing, that the demonstration of a contrary truth, which you promise in your physics, should confirm us in the opinion of its impossibility. In particular, since this idea, unable to pretend to be the same perfection and objective reality as that of God, can be feigned due to the ignorance of that which truly moves these bodies towards the center. And since no material cause presents itself to the senses, one would then attribute this power to its contrary, an immaterial cause. But I nevertheless have never been able to conceive of such an immaterial thing as anything other than a negation of matter which cannot have any communication with it.